You're listening to Know It, Live It. I'm your host, Laura Hansen Breksa, and today is the first ever episode. And today we have Karrie Mitten with us, a life coach who I had the opportunity to attend a webinar with, and I was just so impressed. I'm so excited that she's going to be here, and she has to be the first guest because she's one of the reasons why I'm even here doing stuff. And on Know It, Live It, each week I have an insightful conversation with a fascinating person who shares their life mission, determination, passion, principle, or spiritual journey. And boy, have I already talked to some great people. Wow. One episode a week. I don't want to wait any longer. We're going to go talk to Karrie. You can find her information on uplevelyourlifeconsulting.com. Her bio is in the captions below. And how she knew this is what she wanted to do and how she went through that process, she's going to share that with us today. So let's get walking toward how we can find out how she did it and how she helps others do it. Thank you very much for being here, Karrie. It's lovely to see you again. I attended one of your wonderful seminars, and it really helped me actually have some excitement and empowerment that I could start some programs that I'm running, my own blog, which started me thinking about this podcast. So it kind of rolled into other things. So I thank you for sharing what you know to
Beautiful.
do. So of course I thought of having you on here, and I'm so grateful that you accepted my invitation.
Well, thank you for having me.
Why I asked you to be on this show is because you help other people live their best lives. And I want to know what tools and principles you live every day that you teach other people to live. Tell me about those.
Oh, great question, Laura. Well, first and foremost, one of the principles that I live by is gratitude. I believe that there's a seed of good in everything. And that if we can find gratitude in all things and for all things, it puts us in a frequency of abundance, which is truly everybody is looking. I shouldn't say everyone. That's what I want to live, is a life of abundance. So gratitude does that for me. So that's the first principle. The second principle is being a person of increase. I believe that we're in this world to leave a legacy of some sort, to leave an impact of some sort. And to be a person of increase is to leave the experience, the environment, or the person better than when you found them. And so every time that I'm with someone or every time I'm in an environment, I want to leave it better than when I found it or found that person, right? I don't want people to walk away from me and feel worse. And so being a person of increase is the second principle that I live by daily. And the third principle is living by a vision. I believe that when we have a vision for a life that we would love to live, that is our guidepost, our guiding our North Star, our guiding light. And it's really, I believe, the echo of the calling on our life. When we have a vision of, I would love my health to be this way. I would love my relationships to be this way. I would love my income to be this way, right? When we have that vision, it allows us to embody that and then to live from that rather than trying to get to where we want to get. Now we can just embody what it is and we attract who we are. So when we put ourselves in the frequency of the vision that we are holding, then we have the opportunity to attract things that are in alignment and on that frequency. So I live by gratitude, by being a person of increase, and by living a vision every day.
I'm picturing in my mind a mess, and then you're finding a seed of good, and then you're turning that into abundance. It's not an automatic thing. You really do have to look because life's messy and it has turmoil and difficulties. I really like that
Absolutely.
idea. Sometimes they're like mustard seeds.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
You gotta put some effort.
yeah. I mean, you got to find the seed first, right? But you have to be willing to look for the seed. I believe that everything that happens for good. I don't believe that things happen for bad. I mean, I know in this world that we label them as bad, but really it's neutral until we label it, until we emotionalize it. And so I believe that everything that happens happens for us and with us, not to us. And so we can look for that seed of good. We find that seed of good. Even, I have a client that I work with that, she lost her son at 18 years old. I mean, in the land of, you know,
Hell,
level of fact, that's bad. But we can find the seed of good in there. And we've been working with, that's how I've been working with her to find the seed of good. And she has. And now she mourns the loss of her son, but she recognizes that he was here for a very specific reason. Right. And she found the seed of good, and now she can live her life with that feeling. So it's very important. The other thing too is Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, which is one of the most popular books ever published. He said in the book, every heartache, every failure, every adversity carries with it the seed of equal or greater value, meaning that it's not just some adversity, it's not just some heartache, it's every adversity, every heartache has the seed of equal or greater good. And so we get to find that seed, plant that seed, nurture that seed, and finally harvest that seed.
something to sit and think about.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a deep spiritual muscle to grow there for sure.
Definitely effort. I just really love that. And you're going to have to do it daily to get the practice.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
not,
And gratitude helps. Gratitude helps, right? I mean, it's hard to, it can be a challenge to be grateful for losing a son at 18, right? But when you start your day with gratitude, then everything changes for you. You see the abundance in the world. You see abundance in life. You see the meaning and the purpose behind life, right? And so, yeah, so it's a really important skill set to learn is gratitude.
so the impact of having a grateful heart and seeing the grateful heart is you're going to enjoy life more. It makes your
Absolutely.
vision clearer.
Absolutely.
So every day
Absolutely.
is more enjoyable. Tell me about the positivity that comes from gratitude. Tell me
Yeah,
more
well,
about
let,
that
let me tell
connection.
you let me tell you a story of a client that I had a couple years ago. It was a gentleman. I don't normally work with men, but every once in a while I do. This guy, he would constantly say to me, "Well, that was a crappy day." And I said to him, "Okay, well, how do you start your day?" Because I believe that how you start your day defines your day. And he said, "Well, I wake up in the morning and I get dressed and I go to work." I said, "Okay, let's back up for a minute. You get up to an alarm, right?" "Yes," he says. "Yes." I said, "Okay, how many times do you push the alarm button, the snooze button before you actually get up?" Right? "Oh, 4 or 5 times." And then when you get out of bed, you're crabby because you've hit the snooze button because you feel like you didn't get enough sleep. Most people wake up in the morning and think to themselves, "Wow, I wish that night would have lasted longer." Instead, why don't you try this? I told him, that moment right before your eyes open, when you're laying in bed and you know you're getting ready to wake up, go to gratitude.
Mm.
Thank you, your higher power, whether it be God, universe, divine, and whatever it is. Thank you, higher power, for this brand new baby day, not ever even lived before. Thank you for the breath of life that I was given today, because not everybody was. Thank you that I get to bring my very best to this day. And I told him, I said, try this for 7 days. And he came back a week later and he said, "I cannot believe I've had the best days." And I'm like, "Really? What changed?" And he said, "Well, I did." And I said, "Well, how did you change?" He said, "Well, I started my day with gratitude." He said, "I put myself on the frequency of gratitude, and gratitude is on the frequency of abundance, and everything in my life changed. I saw more abundance in my life. I saw more joy. I saw more harmony, more alignment. I was putting myself on a frequency of success, and things started to appear and out of the blue," he would say. And I said, "No, it's not out of the blue. It's because you're in alignment with abundance." And so gratitude, yes, puts us in the frequency and in the flow of abundance. We attract who we are, not what we want. I can say it all day long. I want $1 million. I want a skinny size four body, or I want, the love of my life. We can say that all we want. But if we're not actually being that person, being the person who can manage $1 million in income, who can, who is taking care of their health to lose the weight and be a size whatever, loving ourselves first before we can give it to other people, we're not going to attract that into our life. So we get to be that person first in order to have the things that we would love to have. The world has it backwards, right? It's really, it's the world thinks if we have the things, then I can act differently and I'll be happy, right? But in reality, I get to be happy, then I'll act the way that a happy person acts, and then I'll have the things that I would love. So it's be, do, have, not have, do, be.
So, when did you develop such a love for people that you wanted to help them this much?
Great question. When I was 17 years old, and I've always had a passion for people. I don't know what it was. I've always had a little bit of a spiritual nature. I remember when I was about 12 years old, I was at my grandparents' lake house, and I can remember sitting on the end of the dock and just talking to God and just saying, I love my life and I'm so happy and all of these things, even though I didn't have a great childhood. And I can remember just loving being around people, my friends and all that stuff. And when I was 17, we're talking to my dad about going to college. And my dad said, well, what do you want to do when with your degree, or what do you want to study? And I said, I don't really know what I want to study, but I know that when I get out of college, I really want to leave an impact in the world. I want to help people. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how. I also am very creative, so I want to use my creative gifts and talents somehow. So we had the conversation, and it went back and forth a couple of times. And finally, he looked at me and he said, do you think that maybe like nonprofit work would be something that you would love to do? And I got a little charge out of that. It's like, oh, maybe, yeah. That sounds kind of cool. And out of protection and out of love, not to be mean, but my dad looked at me and he said, Carrie, you probably won't make a lot of money doing that. But what I heard him say, Laura, and he didn't say this, but I heard in my mind, I made it up, that he said, I won't have success going after what I love. I won't have success going after my dream. And so I sought out, I went to college. I did what he thought I should do. I listened to the opinion and approval of him, telling me I should go into sales and marketing because I had a face for sales or something like that, right? And I did, and that's what I did. And so when I got into the corporate world, all I knew was to ask for the opinion and approval of other people. So I continued to do that. And on the outside, I had success, but on the inside, I was dying because I wasn't going after my dream, right? And so I had a pivotal point in my career where I realized that if I don't go after it, I was dying inside. And if I don't go after what it is that I would love, which at this point was so muted that I'm going to live my life not on purpose and not fulfilled. So it's kind of like I share with my clients, it's kind of like unlived life is like a beach ball, holding it underwater. A beach ball doesn't like to be held underwater. Yeah, exactly. It'll explode out, right? And so that's kind of what happened. That's really what happened with me. Was finally it just exploded, and I was ready to go back, figure this out. And so I hired a life coach. And when I was going through the Dream Builder program, which is the program that I'm certified to teach and train my clients in, I recognized that what I really wanted to do, what I really loved to do, was to use what I had learned in the 50 years that I was on this earth to support other people to shorten the learning curve for them. That they didn't have to go through some of the things that I'd gone through to get to live their life that they would absolutely love, right? And so that's what I'm very passionate about, right? Is helping people see that there's more to life than just going through the motion, listening to the opinion and approval of other people, not going after your own dream. It's an unlived life when you don't. So I hope that answers your question. It's a
It does.
long-winded,
No,
long-winded answer.
it's all good. How you've talked a little bit about you had a detour
Mm-hmm.
and you came back a little maybe hungrier than you might have had you had it from the beginning. Let's find
Mm-hmm.
that seed in your
Mm-hmm.
detour, right?
That's right. Right. Right.
And you went to a particular training, which you're now certified in.
Mhm.
Is that how you developed the tools? Or you must have had, as a creative, your own Carrie take on and built your own system to come up with these tools. So how did
Well,
you do that?
here's the thing is the tools, life's tools are not something that I just developed. It's kind of like the laws of the universe, right? Like we don't wake up in the morning and hope that the law of gravity works, right? It
Kind of
just
count on that. Yeah.
does, right? It just does. The law of electricity, when we flip the switch on, we don't just hope that the law of electricity works. It just does. We don't need to know exactly how it works. We just are in alignment with it, right? And so the program that I feel like I was very intuitive my whole life that I knew that I was put on this earth for something more. I knew that I had a spiritual side to my nature that I just didn't know how to unleash it. I didn't know how to recognize it. I knew something was there. And so when I was going through the program, it started to uncover really my true authentic self, who I really am, right? And coming back to, I had to unbecome in order to become, right? I had to let go of the corporate Carrie that I was kind of molded into, right? It does actually, and that's a new twist on Barbie. um as I was going through the program, I was listening to my mentors and my coaches tell me about these tools and these laws and these things and it at first it wasn't registering with me. Like I couldn't quite understand. My logical brain was going, okay, but this doesn't make sense and I feel like I've done this my whole life and blah 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 blah, right? And then I had a coach who said to me, "You know, Carrie, when you flip the switch and you want the light to go on and it doesn't go on, it's just because there's a circuit issue. It doesn't mean that it's not right. It just means that there's somewhere along the line, there's a break in the circuit." And he said, maybe because you're not getting it or you're thinking you're not getting it, it's just a circuitry issue, right? So anyhow, back to the question. I haven't invented anything, right? Um, as far as these tools and laws are concerned. I just got in alignment with them. And I love the universal laws and tools and principles. I just love the way I was taught to deliver them in a way that is easy to understand, um, in a way that is empowering to support other people to really, honestly, Laura, press the easy button, right? When you learn to live in the way of the universe and the way of God and the way of your higher power, life gets so much easier, right? And so our humanness, typically we tend to make things hard by our choices, decisions that we make. But if we just learn to be in alignment with how the world works and how the circuitry works, we don't have to know all of the things, but we just get to be with it. Then life is so much easier, so much more aliveness, so much more worth living, right? And so to answer your question, I have written my own programs. I have my own things, but it's all based on the universal laws and principles that have been around since the dawn of man. Even Bible talks about these laws, right? So I just find my own way to deliver it.
I like that when you find your own way and your own style, and that connects with certain clients. Be yourself, and your people will find you.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
So, where do you think this need for approval comes from? It must be stronger with some of your clients than with others, because you're talking about how people kind of give up themselves in order to be approved. Now, it must have to be in some places because your papers have to be approved when you're in
Hmm.
school.
Hmm.
You have to conform to rules.
Hmm.
You have to conform to employee expectations.
Hmm.
So it has to be some sorting through all that.
Hmm. Hmm.
For instance, I remember in school, I spent more time on the cover art than the book report. And I
That's
have a
right.
teacher that held that up as a bad example. Now, I don't
Uh-huh.
think that was very nice of
Right.
her.
Right. Right.
And my high writing, she called it chicken scratch. Now, that wasn't very nice either.
Right.
But but that was my style, was more like the art stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to conform and get approval from teachers.
Uh-huh.
So how does that become separated?
Well, and
Do you know what I'm
unfortunately,
saying?
yeah, I do. Yes. Unfortunately, we are programmed from the moment we're born, right, to conform to the ways of our world, right? Um and then there are people like me who listened to the opinion and approval of my father. I mean, he was paying my college tuition, right? I mean, I listened to my bosses and I listened to my professors and all those things, but deep inside of me, I knew that I there was something more that was going on inside of me. I wasn't going to be the bad girl and get kicked out because I wasn't following the rules, but I also knew that there was a side of me that wanted to be birthed, that wanted to be um
Set free.
yeah, thank you, set free, liberated, not in a way that is radical, right? That I wanted to be my own self, my own person. But life and the world's kind of, molds you into who they think you should be. And if you don't have a strong spirit, that can crush your spirit. I remember, in fact, I was just talking to another gal this morning, and she was talking about generations. And she said in her generation, children were to be seen and not heard. Well, imagine what that does to a child when you say, no, 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 you can't speak your mind, right? You don't say those types of things, right? And so then we grow up with this sense of not worthy to speak our mind, right? And so there comes a tipping point somewhere in our life that it's like, okay, either I conform to the ways of the world that I've been molded to, or I make a decision to speak my mind, to show my worth, right? And some people continue to stay in their space, and some people decide, like myself, to express myself in a way that feels good to me and for the highest good of all, right? Like, I'm not expressing myself to be radical. I'm expressing myself to be authentic,
Mm.
to stand in a place of love, right? To show people that I can, you and I can be a light in a dark world, right? That you and I can we can have completely opposite bipolar ideas or belief systems or whatever, but we can still be in harmony. We can still be
Absolutely.
in love. We can still love one another, right? And so everything that I do, Laura, I mean, everything that I do, I ask myself, what would love do here? Right? Would love buck the system and get in trouble and get kicked out of school? No. Would love be a radical political, you know, crazy whatever? No. Right? I don't care what you believe. I don't care what your politics are. Just do it with love, right? I mean, it's true what they say, love makes the world go round, right? But also I think if people really listened more to their heart and what ask that question, what would love do here, in a true, authentic way, the world would be a much better place to live in, for sure.
It would, especially if
Yeah,
what would love do, how would love treat myself, right?
absolutely. It starts here. It starts here. Yeah.
So if love casteth out all fear, and if God
Hmm.
does not give us a power, love, there's 2 Timothy. I have it memorized. God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of love and of a sound mind.
Hmm.
What I'm imagining that fear is one of the biggest blocks to people making this switch. And it's a slow growth. I don't imagine people just flip in your
Right.
work.
Right.
Am I right that fear is a block to people, or am I off?
You are 1,000% correct. But the challenge is, fear is not to be feared. Fear is to be revered. Because what fear does is it shows us that we're on the edge of the reality that we've known. Right? It shows us that it just doesn't mean that we can't. It just means that we haven't done it yet.
Okay. You're
So
going in the right direction when you start to be afraid.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I always tell my clients, put fear on the passenger seat, because when you're on the road to greatness, you're going to have some fear, right? You're going to face some fear. So you might as well befriend it. Bring it along with you. Tell it, I'm the driver. Yes, I know you're there, but I'm going to do it anyway. Right? We're going to do this thing together. Let's go. Right?
Buckle in.
Buckle in, sweetheart. We're in for a bumpy ride. Yeah. I mean, it's fear will always be a companion, always. So we just get to befriend it. Yeah. Fear keeps people stuck. It keeps people not moving forward. It keeps people from a lot of different things. But if they recognize what fear really is, it's not a roadblock. It's not an obstacle. It's actually an opportunity for growth. Yeah.
Is there anything before we end that you would like to share with us, or make sure that we know about you, about your practice, about things that you say to your clients?
Gosh, there's so much that I could share, and we could spend hours, and I would love to do that. But I know we have a time limit. So the one thing I want to leave your listeners with is this, and I love the quote by Mark Twain, who said, "There's the two most important dates in your life. The first is the day you were born, and the second is the day you find out why." Right? It's important that, we're not put on this earth just to take up air. We're put on this earth for a very specific reason. And so you get to ask the question, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And you start listening and, raising your awareness and your consciousness to synchronicities. What are the things that you love to do in your life? What makes you come alive? Those types of things are all leading you to your purpose. Right. And so if there's ever an opportunity where you would love to have some time to talk that through, I would love to support any of your listeners in doing that, because I truly believe there's another quote, and I'll share this and then I'll be done, by Rumi. He's a 13th century poet. And he said, it's called The Great Wagon. And he said, it's as if a king has sent you to a far and distant land with only one thing to accomplish. You could accomplish 100 things or 1,000 things. But if you don't accomplish the one thing for which you have been sent, it's as if you've accomplished nothing. And it's as if God has sent you to this earth with one thing to accomplish, the one thing that you have been sent for. If you don't accomplish that, you've accomplished nothing. So find what you're here to do. Share your gifts and talents. Become the best version of you. And when you do, life will become so amplified with aliveness and joy and abundance. And you just get to lean into it.
I spoke too soon. I have another question.
Okay.
How do you find that one thing?
Great question. Great question. Well, this is what I help my clients discern and decide and uncover. But the one thing that I can share with you is this, and that is that ask yourself this question. And this is a highly calibrated question. We typically ask questions like, well, what does my bank account say I can do? What does my education level say I can do? What do other people say I can do? Ask yourself the question, what would I love? What would I love? Right? What would I love is a highly calibrated question, and it takes you more even to the spiritual side of your nature, right? Not, well, what do I think I can do? It's what would I love? It opens up the realm of imagination, of possibility, of opportunity. And when you start asking that question, then you start getting the infinite intelligence answers, right? The answers that maybe you would have never have thought of before. And then you lean into that. You start there. Ask the question, what would I love? What I love. I mean, I would love to support people. I would love to, as a 17-year-old, right? I would love to, leave a legacy. I'd love to use my creative gifts and talents. And for 25 plus years, that went stagnant because I listened to the opinion and approval of other people. So there's where I would start, asking yourself that question. Absolutely.
That's
Because
where you need someone like you that stands right next to you, because it can be so hard to get diverted, because you're supposed to love things based on how you're supposed to love this.
right,
And if
right.
you don't live this, then you're not where you're supposed to be. That gets convoluted once you start, because you judge yourself.
It absolutely
Like,
does.
where do you want to eat today? And there's other people that are you're trying to please at the same time.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you need someone to help you with that one.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And that's what I do. Yep. You hit the nail on the head with that one for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me. I
My
appreciate
pleasure,
everything
Laura.
you've said, and thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on Know It, Live It. I'm your host, Laura Hansen Breksa. I've sure learned quite a few things from Karrie Mitten, and I'm glad she carried through with what she knew she should do. You can find her website at uplevelyourlifeconsulting.com. Make sure you visit knowitliveit.net for the latest scoops, recaps, and more. Remember to subscribe to this podcast so you'll never miss an episode with fascinating people who live what they know. And since this is the very first episode, whoa, we got lots in store. Thank you very much, and we'll be back with a new episode every Tuesday.